why it's so great to vacation with three people instead of just two. So if you're with your partner or wife or husband, spouse, whatever, you're kind of at the mercy of what they're willing to do. Scott's actually more fun than I am. Like he'll zip line, he'll like, I don't know that he'd jump out of a plane, but like he's more of like a little bit more adrenaline, not junkie, but like he would do things I wouldn't do. I want to read. I read an entire 600-page book that week. I want to lay out in the sun. I want to go to the spa.
Hey, I'm Jen, host of the Open Bedroom podcast, where you'll find topics of sex, dating, relationships, non-monogamy, and more. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Open Bedroom podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer, and today I want to talk to you about vacationing as a throuple in our first throuple adventure. But before I start, I have to show you this hat that I burned myself with Jess on date night. Okay, so for those of you that are listening and you can't see me, you can actually watch this podcast on video through Spotify or free through YouTube. So if you want to head over to one of those channels just so you can see this adorable hat. Okay, let me make sure that you guys can see because I do have a background on. So the hat burning experience, let me just turn my background filter off for a minute. The hat burning experience in itself was a whole thing. Let me show you. So, first of all, you have to take this, it kind of looks like a really long pencil, and it's plugged in and it's super duper 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 hot. And then you put these little plastic stickers on top of your hat. So, like, you choose your designs. Then you burn into the plastic, which is supposedly only going to go into the hat, right? But then all in between, I'm pointing in between like all the little leaves that I did. And let's see, I have something underneath it too. So I actually started here with this rose. And I had so much gunky plastic shit all up in the corners and in between all these little crevices. It took me 30 minutes just to peel all the plastic off. I was like really pissed because I'm like, look, it's 2025, guys. How can we not have a better solution to hat burning something stenciled, right? And then I moved on to this feather, which I'm actually pretty proud of. So these are, if you're listening, these are on the brim of my hat underneath it. So first they were like, you should practice this. So I made this feather and I did the outline, and then I was like, it feels like it needs some like feathery energy. So then I started doing like crisscross lines and stuff. So I'm pretty proud of the feather. Then I moved on to the top and I added like a little, it's not a rose, but some sort of flower. And then some vines. And then I decorated it with this super cute kind of soft rose uh cord, and then I added some feathers because I'm all about some feathers. That was date night last week with Jess. I'm just gonna give you guys a little life update while we're here. I have recently really gotten into crafting. I know, right? I'm like a little old lady. And what started this is I'm in this, I actually help own and host a poly meetup group. I'm just gonna choose myself another background. No, that's dumb. Ooh, fancy. So I'm part of this poly meetup group, and one of the ladies, we'll just use this one. One of the ladies there, her name is Tracy. She is the crafting queen. She was like, Jen, I love this I was hosting a speed, what do we call it? A poly speed mixer. So my poly group is actually not very sex forward. They're very much like, let's just be friends and let's figure out like who actually wants to be dating, and like let's just go get a beer and have a conversation. So my group is into that. And I am more probably sex forward than anybody. So I really wanted to host like a speed dating event, which I need to do this fall, but we have so much going on in our lives, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And so Tracy and her friend came up to me after the meetup and they're like, Jen, we want to host a crafting event. And this was exactly a year ago. So it's Halloween time. And she's like, I want to do these little like ghosts. What is the word? It's not macrame, it's Mod Podge. So we did these little like cute, I should have brought one up here so you could see it. They're so cute. She like bought these ghosts and then we had all these cute little feminine designs or spooky designs and you Mod Podge these ghosts. Anyway, she hosted an event and I was like, this is really fun. So if you don't know, I am super type A. I am like, work, 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 build, 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 build. I own a company that's made millions of dollars over in the retail space over the last 11 years to like, I am super driven and I don't know how to rest and I don't know how to play, which leads me to my conversation in a minute, then when we're going to talk about our throuple adventure. So I'm like, Tracy, anytime you want to do crafting, let me know and I will come over. I will come craft and be your crafting buddy and you can teach me all the ways to craft. So she then hosts like this, oh God, what's it called? So let me tell you, perimenopause is something because like your words just evaporate out of your head. Coasters. So we made coasters next. And then we did another thing. And then her and I did a paint your pet adventure where I painted Sir Honeybull, Scott's dog, and it's freaking adorable. And then she was like, Jen, there's a hat burning adventure that we can do, and it's in Springfield where Jess lives. And my family's there, and you and I can just meet up with some friends and burn hats and have a girls' night. So anyway, that's what we did, and it was a blast. So Jess and I had our one-on-one date night on Saturday. We burned hats. We had a sleepover. Um, it was we ate pizza. It was so much fun. Then I came home and then I did Pilates with Scott, which was also a blast and quite hilarious. Scott has signed up for Pilates with me. Oh, I don't think I've given you guys an update. I'm like fucking addicted to Pilates. If you are in your mid 30s to mid 40s and beyond, and you have not discovered the world of Pilates, like what are you even doing? I spent so many years working out with trainers, doing like crazy, I don't know, jumping jacks and jumping rope and burpees and what are those sit-ups? Not Russian sit-ups. What are they called? Anyway, I don't do that anymore. And I noticed with this really hard training that I was doing is I was always in pain. Like my shoulders hurt, my hips hurt. I also couldn't lose weight. So I was heavy, but like muscular and heavy, but also had fat. So I've spent the last year and a half on the GLP-1 slash skinny shot that everybody's been doing. And I'm doing the semaglutide, and I've lost over 50 pounds, and I've never felt so good in my body. So adding Pilates onto my skinny shot has changed my life. Um, I had I had major hormonal shifts about, I don't know, 6 months ago, and I literally could not get out of bed. Like my body was in so much pain, and I had all these like nerve pain receptor things happening in my body that were just like signaling all this pain. And I could barely walk. I could barely move. All of a sudden, the fluid in my body, like, huge. Like, I was retaining water. My ankles were huge. I felt like I was pregnant again. I was like, what is happening to me? And I noticed that my hormones were a bit off. This is also going to be a conversation about hormones and menopause if you guys haven't figured this out. Welcome to 40s. I noticed my hormones were kind of shifting over the last few years. And so I was like, this is it. I have to go see a hormone doctor. And I found someone local. All he does is hormones. And he's been a miracle worker. So he put me on progesterone and I'm also on a thyroid because my thyroid was really low in terms of activity. And so I'm taking these two hormonal supplements. And within 2 months, like the pain went away. I also joined Pilates. Like I'm at this point where I can barely move. And I'm like, this is not okay. I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. So when I started to get some mobility back, I started to join Pilates. One of the other key indicators I want to add, because if this is happening to you, this is a hormone thing. Right before I would get my period, like 3 days before, I would start to get massive migraines, like debilitating, cannot get out of bed, throwing up migraines. And what was happening is my progesterone was plummeting so fast that my body was just spun into chaos and migraines. And I felt like absolute shit for 3 to 4 or 5 days. And then my period would come and I'd be like, okay, here we go. And also, my lymph nodes would swell huge and get really hard for like 2 weeks out of the month. Sorry, I brought a cold back from our Throuple vacation, so I'll talk to you about Mexico. But um, so anyway, all those things signaled I need to go get my hormones checked. So this is just my PSA. If you are a woman listening to the show, or you are a man with a woman that could be in perimenopause slash going into menopause, which is perimenopause, and you're noticing, it's hard to lose weight, or she's having like erratic mood swings, or her thyroid is having issues and her lymph nodes are swelling, or she's having crazy headaches, or periods are becoming irregular, have her, if she's open to it, have her go to a hormonal specialist. So if you go to a regular OB, like a regular doctor, they'll do a blood draw and they'll check your levels and they'll say, oh, you're within the levels. And what I'm learning is I'm doing all this research. Gosh, this should just be a conversation on hormones. What I'm learning is as we get sicker, the normal levels of what is average and normal across the United States changes and becomes lower. So, like what your peak feeling amazing level should be is all of a sudden greatly decreased by this what average and normal looks like scale. So anyway, you want to go to a hormonal specialist because they can go in and say, you actually need this and you need this and you need this and you're going to feel fucking amazing. Okay, enough about that. Pilates. I'm going to finish up with this. Oh my God, you guys. Okay, for those of you that don't know about Pilates, it is on a reformer. It's what they call it. They also call it like a carriage. So you're like laying down a good chunk of the class. And there's resistance because there's springs and you're pushing out. There's even some classes where you can do jumping in the reformer with the springs. Jumping, by the way, is really, 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 really good for your bones and helps you build bone. So again, for us in perimenopause to menopause and older is really important to help with our bone health and keeping our bones strong as we get older. So also, you're doing your feet in straps against the resistance of the springs and your arms as well. Y'all, look at my arms. I mean, I got a little bit left here, but like my arms are looking pretty amazing. And I have done, I'm going to look on my app. I think I've done 40 Pilates classes at this point. I'm not totally even sure how to look at this, but if I can find it, I will share with you how many I have done at this point. But I started it a few months ago, 42 classes. Bam. Okay. So I started it a few months ago and I started with like 2 classes a week. And then quickly I was like, I need more than this because I love the hard classes, but then I don't ever get stretching and I don't get like rolled out like with a ball. I don't know if any of you like do training in gyms where you're using foam rollers and all of that to help with your muscle fatigue. So I was like, I either need to go back to yoga class and also add a yoga class, or I could see if there's any classes that are kind of stretchy and, like feel really good on your body. Well, they have one, of course. So I started doing 3 classes a week. And so I would do 2 hard ones, and then I would do this yoga-ish type class. And then I was like, oh my God, I feel so good. And it feels like my hip pain has finally, y'all, I have had hip pain for how old is my oldest? 17 years. Like since I had my first kid, my hips have never been the same and they have hurt every day of my life. To the point where I was like, I'm gonna need some surgery or something because like the tendons and the ligaments, again, I'm not any kind of like physical therapy. I don't know anything about the body. But what I understand is everything was wrapped so tight around my muscles that like I would sit, a few hours a day and it would just tighten up and I'd stand and it would hurt and I'd lay in bed and it would hurt and it would just hurt they would hurt all the time. But with this Pilates shit, you guys, oh my God, I have not had hip pain in a few weeks and it's just like life changing. And it's because you're building all of these muscles that you never knew about. Like I'm doing like putting your feet in those bands, those little workout bands, and then like kicking your leg out to the side, kicking it to the back. I'm building my butt muscles. I'm doing planking like I am fucking 15 years old. I can plank for a long ass time. And we're doing variations of planking and we're planking on the reformer. And my mobility has never been this good in my entire life. In fact, I'm taking a class in 30 minutes called Control, where you work with balls, you work with standing, you do a lot of yoga-ish type moves, you're doing skaters. It's just so much fun. So I'm gonna end because I need to talk to you about our Throuple vacation, but I'm gonna end with another PSA, and that is ladies and men too, because Scott is taking, I didn't tell you about Scott really quick. Scott has signed up for one class a week. Scott has taken three classes. And since I've taken 42 classes, he's taken three classes. And he went yesterday and totally forgot all of it, like how to bump out the carriage is the reformer machine, how to put his weights on, how to like, and I was like, babe, you need to go back to like the intro class because he wants to take the classes with me, and he's like, I don't need that, I'm fine. I'm like, okay. By the way, not very many men at least in our area, I shouldn't say in the US, in our area take Pilates. It's kind of like a ladies thing I don't know why. Um, I think a lot of it's based off of control. You're going slow. It's a lot of resistance, and men don't want that. They want to like throw weights around in the gym. Scott's like doing pull-ups and he wants big muscles. So anyway, okay. Pilates. Go take Pilates. You can find a local Pilates. I do Club Pilates. It's a franchise, and because they're all over my area, you can go take a free class. You can also take like an intro class, and they'll sit with you and a couple other people and show you how to use the machines. And I laid on that reformer for the first time, and I was like, "What is this magic? This feels so freaking good on my body." Y'all, sometimes I just lay on that reformer and like tears roll down my eyes. I'm so grateful for the classes, for the teachers, for the freaking Joseph Pilates or whatever his last name was that created Pilates. I thank you to all these Pilates gods because I've never felt so good, nor have I ever looked so good. I mean, my muscles are like freaking on, y'all. They are tight and hard. And even Scott is like, babe. I'm like, okay. All right. So I'm going to talk to you now about our throuple vacation. In fact, if you're watching this, I'm going to splice a picture in just so you can skip to the part about this if you don't want to hear about Pilates or hormones. Also, how cute is this little mug? I bought this from Walmart. It is so freaking cute. Also, I bought Scott, I haven't talked to y'all in a long time. Apparently, I have a lot of stuff to say. I bought Scott an espresso machine for his birthday back in July, and I have become the personal barista in the house. Also, I got engaged. Scott and I are getting married in 2 weeks, and I promise I will do another podcast on what a polyamorous wedding looks like because Steph, my girlfriend, used to be in a throuple with me and Scott. Girlfriend Steph is marrying us. She's going to be our officiant. There we go. And then Jess is going to be there. She's our holder of the rings and witness to us committing our lives to each other. So anyway, I promise I will share pictures and stuff. Throuple vacations. So let's talk about throuple vacations. The first thing that I feel about when collective humans think about more than one person going on vacation with you or checking into a hotel room, the first thing you're thinking is like, there's going to be resistance. People are going to look at you weird. People are going to ask you questions like, are you sure you only need one bed? That's a king. There are three of you. We've gotten that question a few times. I have an episode where I talked about Steph, Scott, and I. It was for Scott's birthday a few years ago. We went down to Dallas and we went to Meow Wolf, and we also went to a sex club, which was amazing. But we check into the hotel, and I had booked a king, one room for the three of us because we're about to have birthday monkey sex, right? And the poor lady at the counter was like, "How many keys do you need?" And I'm like, "Just two, in case somebody needs to run out, get something. I'm gonna give you three keys." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "You chose a room with just one king bed. do you want me to put you in like two doubles or two queens? I'm like, no, no, I wanted a king. She's like, there's three of you. I'm like, uh-huh, I know. So, y'all, if you're in a relationship with multiple people and you're checking into a hotel or you're going on vacation, just roll with it. Like, it's okay to just go in with some confidence and try not to make them feel like too silly or stupid or uncomfortable, you know? I mean, sometimes I've even gone in and checked in and left them in the car so that we don't have to go through this whole shebang of there's three of you. Like, yep, that's intentional. So, first of all, let me say, Scott and me are in a throuple with a woman named Jess. If you have not been following me, I will put our throuple picture in the podcast cover and on the reels that I do for this episode so you can see her if you haven't seen her. That's Jess. We have been dating Jess for, I think, 15 or 16 months now, like not quite a year and a half. Um, we are currently in a closed throuple. A few episodes ago, I had posted, we're in a quad, and we started dating another person that actually was sort of at the beginning seeing all three of us. And that quickly became two thruples that Scott and I were managing. And it did not go well. None of it went well. So I'm not even going to go into that because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or say anything that would be rude. So it did not go well. So we are back to one throuple with Jess, and it is close at this point because I'm a little traumatized by managing two full-time thruples and the demand that that took on me and how much I had to give up and loan Scott out. It was, again, I'm not going to go into it. I'm done. Okay. So, Jess, so to celebrate us being in a throuple for over a year together, making it over a year, that felt pretty significant. We were like, let's go on vacation. Let's do a vacation. Now, Jess had not been on an actual vacation in like 7 years. This is before she even had her kid. She is now almost divorced, and raising her kiddo by herself with her family. So this woman desperately needed a vacation. And Scott and I have actually done quite a bit of vacationing this year. So it wasn't like we needed a vacation, but we definitely wanted to see what it would be like to spend more than 1 or 2 days in consecutive order with Jess. Because all three of us are building towards living in the same city. Right now, she lives 2 hours away from us and potentially building life together. So we chose a cruise. So why a cruise? Well, we were looking for a few things. Because Jess has a young child, she was like, I can't be gone for a whole week or 2 weeks or however long. Like, I need something that's in and out and fast. So, first we looked at, she's in Missouri and we're in Arkansas. So, we looked at proximity to port. And we had intended to drive to Galveston. And then when we started to see how many hours that was going to take, quickly became, we're just going to fly to Galveston. And we found an amazing deal through United Airlines where it was like $250 round trip per person. And so we flew out of Springfield. So Scott and I drove up. She has the small kid. My kids were with their dad. We didn't have to worry about, child stuff. And so we flew out of there. The other reason that we chose a cruise is cruises are really cheap, and you can choose the location based off of your budget. The cheapest is going to be Mexico, and then after Mexico is the Caribbean, and then after that, I don't really know. Because that's all I've done is, cheaper cruises. Cruises are supposedly all inclusive, once you pay for them. But once you get on the cruise, you're paying for all kinds of add-on. I mean, Jess and I had seafood 2 days in a row on the cruise that we paid for because we wanted to have like some lobster and some crab because we live in states that aren't on the ocean, and that was fun for us. So that's why we chose a cruise. Now, I had just cruised with the boys and Scott in March for spring break, and let me tell you, while we did have a balcony room, not suite, we had a room with a balcony. Y'all, we were crammed in there, which was kind of my intent. So, like, my oldest he just turned 17 and my youngest just turned 14. And I can feel like time slipping through my hands as I watch them every day. It's bizarre how fast time is going. And we only have one more year with Ian, and then he goes to college. So for that particular vacation, I was like, I want us to all be in one room. Like I want to hear the boys banter and chat at night and tell jokes and be hilarious. Like I wanted the closeness. Here's where it matters. I would say the temperament and the desire, and maybe even the experience of the people that you go and vacation with, because Scott has been on many a cruise. Him and his parents cruised when he was a kid, and went to very nice places, and they stay in expensive suites on the cruise ship. He was not staying in a one bedroom balcony or in a room with children too. So it was way too tight for him and he felt claustrophobic the entire time, which wasn't fun for him. And I felt bad. And I paid for that whole trip. And so then I was also pissy the whole time because I was like, you motherfuckers are not grateful for anything. Anyway, I won't go on about that trip because this conversation is not about that. But I just wanted to say if you are looking for comfortability for at least three people in a room, even that would have been pretty tight. So so we had my youngest in the Pullman that comes off the roof, like out of the ceiling. And then my oldest was on the sofa bed. And then we had I guess it was a king. So we, basically the whole room the entire time was just beds everywhere. So we just tried to stay out of the room. There wasn't like hanging out. Okay, let's transition to what we chose for our throuple. So Scott and I were like, hey, we've already done the small room thing. And um, again, when you think about temperament, Scott is a homebody. He's doesn't like a lot of crowds. He doesn't like heat. So Mexico is not a great location for him, but he's just like, look, for me, vacationing is playing my PS5 or reading or listening to podcasts. Like, I don't want to effort. I don't want to get hot. And I want some space in my room. And I want a balcony so I can go out and look at the ocean. Okay. So we upgraded to a balcony suite. And it was the best decision ever. In fact, that's totally what we should have gotten with the kids. So we were on the Carnival Breeze in case anybody wants to replicate this trip. We did the Carnival Breeze and we got a balcony suite. And this balcony suite actually had two king beds. So there's a king bed here, there's a king bed here, and it's also pretty roomy. I mean, I don't know if it was 1,000 square feet, but it felt pretty freaking roomy. And then in the middle, you have a television that you can move from one side to the other. So he was absolutely living his best life. Brought the PS5, it worked on the TV, no problem. He plugged it in, he played games for literally 4 or 5 days. Um, there's just so much, like there's a bathtub in there. The shower water pressure was amazing. It had like three little closet areas. There was a place to put makeup on and change. Like this place was nice. There was a bidet and a toilet and a sink, maybe two sinks. I don't remember. Two sinks, I think. Um, so that I would do again. One of the things I wanted to make sure I told you guys was the cost because, like my intent is always like, let's have a cheap, fun vacation, especially with the kids. And for this particular thing, like one of us had a budget, and so they wanted to make sure we didn't go crazy. Well, Scott and I were like, we'll pay the extra for the nice suite. So in all, I want to say it was around $3,500 for the whole cruise, that balcony suite. We did pay extra, for the airfare, the 250. And then I think we paid $40 each a bag, or we checked two bags because we had a lot of shit and sunscreen and stuff that didn't want to have to buy there. Um, so I mean, all in all, if you look per person, what is that like 1250 per person for a vacation for 5 days and food and everything included? Um, With that total, we did two excursions. So the three of us went out to an all-inclusive one day, and that was fun. They had zip lining and all that. And then the second time, the second day that we had out and about, Scott actually stayed in. He was like, I need some quiet time. Like, I just want to be alone for the day. You guys go have fun. So Jess and I went to another all-inclusive that was like all you can drink, all you can eat, plus the ocean. So we had a blast with that. And so even those excursions are included in that price. I'm just thinking of like my final bill. Um, so that's how to comfortably fit three or four people, is make sure you get a balcony suite. So the next thing I want to talk about is why it's so great to vacation with three people instead of just two. So if you're with your partner or wife or husband, spouse, whatever, you're kind of at the mercy of what they're willing to do. We talk about temperament again, right? So Scott's actually more fun than I am. Like he'll zip line, he'll like, I don't know that he'd jump out of a plane, but like he's more of like a little bit more adrenaline, not junkie, but like he would do things I wouldn't do. I want to read. I read an entire 600-page book that week. I want to lay out in the sun. I want to go to the spa. The Carnival Breeze, for those of you that love spas, has an amazing spa, and you pay 160 for the whole week to have total access. They have like a dry sauna room with heated seats. Oh my God, it's so good. And then they had like one or two steam rooms. They had this huge jacuzzi tub. They had an adults only deck with a bar. Like it was worth the money. So what I loved was this was more like a choose your own adventure vacation, which was so much fun. So what ended up happening? Oh, and I should tell you about Jess's temperament. Jess is just fun. Jess is bebopping around. She's happy to go do her own thing. She's happy to do stuff with us. She's in the casino. She's playing the quarter slots. She's getting drinks at the Alchemy Bar because she likes the fancy drinks that they make. She's going around finding ducks and collecting ducks, which I guess is a thing that cruisers do. She is just living her best life. Also, temperament wise, I need the most sleep out of everybody. So my circadian rhythm clock about 8:30 is like, we're done. So what would happen is I would not entertain Jess, but I'd hang with Jess all day. Like we'd all go to breakfast together and then we'd park. And I would hang out with Jess and we did lots of stuff in the spa and read and um we got massages twice. One of them was like a body scrub. It was amazing. We did the jacuzzis. We did the up on the Lido deck, the adults only. We did beverages out there, adult beverage. It was so much fun. And then I would be like, cool. And then we'd meet up for dinner. And then after dinner, we might like see a show or play bingo or whatever. And then I would hand her off to Scott and I'd be like, okay, y'all have a great time. I'm gonna go to bed. And I'd read for a little bit and then go to sleep and then kind of get up and do it all over again. I so badly wanted to have the energy and excitement and desire to go to the late night R-rated comedy show, to go dancing. There was a bunch of different dance nights. Y'all, I just couldn't. My body was just like, nope, you're good. And when I think about I try to do the same thing with the kids where I'm like, choose your own adventure. If you want to go do stuff with me, do stuff with me. If you want to do stuff with Scott and hang out and play PS5, do that. If you want to go play basketball and do the like ropes course and all that, you two can hang out. I have boys, so that's helpful. They like to hang out together, go lift weights together, they're doing that. So I really believe in the choose your own adventure mentality and energy when you're going on vacation instead of forcing people to do stuff that they don't want to do. So it was so nice to give myself personally permission to vacation in a way that fueled me up. So whenever I went home, I felt energized instead of feeling totally depleted. Um, just was so much fun, you guys. We're in Mexico, her and I. This was the day that Scott stayed at the on the cruise ship, and she's like, "I want to see how many bad things I can do all at once. I mean, I have no kids, no responsibilities." She's like, "Okay, I want to find like one box of cigarettes." She's like, "I haven't smoked in like, I don't know, 15, 20 years or something." She's like, I'm gonna go find some cigarettes. And everybody was selling cartons, because it's like duty free. So they're like, of course you want cartons of cigarettes, like the huge things. So we finally find a store that has one box of cigarettes and they're grape. And not only are they grape, you guys, there's this warning, like this PSA at the top that has somebody on like a nebulizer or something is happening to their face. It says, these will kill you. It, it was so funny and also like, yeah. But she was like, I just want to smoke one. And I want to do it in the casino with like a martini in my hand and my grape cigarette. So she bought this. I was just like, you are amazing. Old Jen would have been judgy and would have been like, that's not good for your health. Why would you ever want to do that? That's horrible. Current Jen is like, girl, you go fucking live your best life. You go live it because every day you're being a mom, you're going to work, you're being responsible, you're being a good family member, you're being an amazing, contributor to society. If you want to smoke a grape cigarette and play quarter slots and drink a martini, fucking go for it. So that was her idea of living her best life. And yeah, I think Scott had a great time just hanging out, playing, not having any responsibilities. Now, when we got off the ship, and I'm gonna wrap this up, he was like, ladies, I hate Mexico. I hate it. I hate the energy. I hate the vibe. I hate, people begging you to buy things. And I hate how hot it is. He's like, I'm never doing this again here. If y'all want to go on a cruise to Alaska or Iceland or anywhere else, I'm in. But like, I'm never doing Mexico again. So we did learn a few things about each other on the cruise that I think is helpful for like future stuff. But all in all, we got along incredibly well. We don't fight anyway. I mean, we've had a couple issues or skirmishes or disagreements over the last year and a half, but mostly all in all, it's so easy to be in relationship with Jess, which we love. And when she leaves, we feel filled up and fulfilled instead of drained. That's when you know your throuple is right. So if you haven't ever vacationed with your other partners, highly recommend that you do it. Maybe start local, start something where you check into a hotel room together and see how that feels. Um, go camping together. We did that. We did a camping trip with Steph and one of our friends last year, and that was so much fun. But this was our very first official vacation with Jess, and 10 out of 10 would do it again. Price was right for everybody. Cruise was fun. And yeah, so I hope that this encourages you to go and live your best life with your people. Love them hard. Life is short. Don't spend all your time working. Go have fun. All right, guys, see you next time. And hopefully, my next episode will be about our polyamorous wedding, and I'll get to show some pictures of that.
Thank you for listening to the Open Bedroom Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and give us a like and click subscribe below and stay up to date on all the new episodes that we release. If you have a topic that you'd really like more information on, leave us a comment below and we'll see what we can do. Feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and especially your partners. This is a great way to open up some amazing conversations. We'll see you next week.